Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, 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 free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Welcome back. How's everybody feeling? We're going to get started with our program in just 2 minutes. If you could all grab your friends, get everybody in here, make sure everybody's seated. They're not going to want to miss the first panel. It's going to be a really important one. We'll be back and getting started in 2 minutes. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. This is day 2 of the People's Conference. This is day 2 of the People's Conference. Day 2 of showing the world, of committing ourselves to Gaza, of following our compass. Guys, we're gonna need a lot more energy. We got a lot more program left. Let's really bring it with this one, okay? You ready to really bring it with me right now? I know we can do better than what we've been doing so far. Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Lucha, lucha Palestina! Lucha, lucha Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Lucha, lucha Palestina! Lucha, lucha Palestina! We're getting there, but I don't think we're quite there yet. We're not there yet. Let's turn it all the way up to 11 on this one. Up with liberation. Up with liberation. Down with the occupation. Up with liberation. Down with the occupation. Let's see if the Arabic can take us there. Maybe the Arabic can take us there. We want our people in Gaza to hear us. We want every single person who's been fighting for Palestine to hear this. من المية للمية فلسطين عربية ومن المية للمية فلسطين عربية وفلسطين حرة حرة ويا صهيوني اطلع برا فلسطين حرة حرة ويا صهيوني اطلع برا. This side of the room is there. This side of the room has the energy we need. This side of the room, y'all gotta give it to me strong this time, all right? Let's come really strong. Day 2 of the People's Conference. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, 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 free Palestine! Free, 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 free Palestine! Free, 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 free Palestine! All right, y'all feeling ready? Everybody feels good? Welcome to day 2 of the People's Conference. Day 2 of building the kind of movement, the kind of organization and struggle we need to carry the trust of Anas al-Sharif, to carry the words of Hussam Shabat, to continue building our struggle for Gaza and for the struggle for the liberation of Palestine. Let's get another one. Make some noise. Walking around the conference yesterday, it's clear that in the second conference, we have grown as a movement. We've learned so many lessons, we've built so many relationships, we've come together. How could we not? We're in the legacy of a 100-year struggle by the Palestinian people for liberation. 100 years of resistance to Zionism and to imperialist colonization. And we're in a long struggle here too. Our struggle didn't start on October 7th. We have people who have been fighting for years, right here in Detroit, across the Midwest, all across America. People who face the same repression we see today. People who were attacked by the Zionist lobby, by AIPAC, by right-wing politicians, and persevered and continued. And so when we feel under threat, when we feel under attack, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That's right. We will never back down. They can cut out any of our legs and we will stand again. So many of these leaders have taught us that lesson. There are too many to name, but we want to uplift a few of them now. Palestinians, organizers working here in North America to build a revolutionary movement against colonization and for liberation. I'm going to uplift a few names, but know that this is just a drop in the bucket. Samir Oudeh, a passionate leader and mentor. Samir was dedicated to fostering solidarity for Palestine and committed to empowering youth and students to transform them into political leaders. Ilyas Shamiyeh was the first president and founder of the Palestinian American Women's Association and a member of the Palestinian National Council. Edward Said, a name I know all of you know, was a Palestinian American scholar, critic, and public intellectual, best known for his work Orientalism, but known also for lifelong support of Palestinian rights. Muna Oudeh, a long-time activist and organizer. Muna was part of Palestinian American Women's Association in Detroit and later became a member of PAWA, a convening organization of this conference in the steering committee in California. Make some noise for Muna Oudeh. Fuad Rafidi, was a champion of the Palestinian cause since entering the United States in 1975, quickly becoming a major figure in the General Union of Palestinian Students while attending Youngstown State University. And Abu Muhammad, pillars of the Palestinian community in Chicago, the largest community in North America. They founded the Chicago Club. They consistently created spaces to build community in the far diaspora and to uplift Palestinian culture. And finally, Ali Qasid, born in Ain Yabrud 3 years before the Nakba. Ali Qasid worked tirelessly to organize Palestinian communities in Brooklyn, in New Jersey, across the US, in Youngstown, in many other Midwestern locales, and also in Algeria. Ali was a dedicated community organizer, a visionary political thinker, and someone who understood at an early time that for our struggle to succeed, we need to build with all elements that face US imperialism and the enemies that are the enemies of the Palestinian people. We need to go deep into our communities and build the kind of organization and infrastructure required to carry a 100-year struggle forward. And we need to place faith in our youth and to understand that this struggle is a struggle that is passed from generation to generation. Ali Qasid didn't just hold this in his vision, his life was a testament to it. His daughter Rama, my co-MC, is one of the many children of this list of people. So many of them are here today, living proof that despite any Zionist attempts, despite the vile words of Golda Meir, the young will never forget and the old will never die. This is just a handful of dedicated organizers, lifelong activists and strugglers here in North America. And as we go forward, let us reflect on them, let us ground ourselves in them. We are in their legacy. Brothers and sisters, we're now going to transition to our first panel of the day. Gaza resists, Gaza remains. Our panelists will ground us in the conditions of the genocide in Gaza. They will help us understand what is at stake, what this fight is really about, life and the right of the people of Gaza to remain. I now will call to the stage our first panelists, and I will pass the microphone to Ibtihal Maali, an organizer with the Palestinian Youth Movement, someone you've all seen on the streets for months, leading us in protests, leading us in chants, and building in our communities and spaces. Thank you, Ibtihal.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to be here today and to be your moderator today for this incredible panel. Welcome to our first plenary of the day, Gaza Resists, Gaza Remains. In the last 2 years, we've seen a thoroughly planned and deliberate attack on Gaza in what can only be described as a campaign of annihilation and total destruction of Palestinian people, land, life, and future. Israel's scorched earth policy has decimated the very infrastructure that is meant to sustain any form of life. We've seen entire areas reduced to rubble, targeted assassinations, total destruction of hospitals and schools, and we've also seen the targeted use of engineered famine and starvation to carry out this barbaric genocide. The theme of this panel grounds us in the material conditions and reality on the ground. Our panelists and their experiences will shed insight into what our duty to Gaza's people is in this moment and how we can both support Gaza-based initiatives while fighting to bring those responsible for the genocide to justice. I'm honored to be joined by our guest speakers today. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta. Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta is a British Palestinian plastic and reconstructive surgeon. He completed his medical education at the University of Glasgow in the UK and his postgraduate residency training in London. He later underwent 3 fellowships: pediatric craniofacial surgery at Great Ormond Street Hospital for sick kids, cleft surgery at GOS, and a further fellowship in trauma reconstruction at the Royal London Hospital. In 2011, he was recruited by the American University of Beirut Medical Center. In 2012, he became head of the Division of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery at the AUBMC, clinical lead of its Pediatric War Injuries Program and War Injuries Multidisciplinary Clinic. In 2015, co-founded and became director of the Conflict Medicine Program at Global Health Institute at the American University of Beirut. He returned to the UK in 2020 and continues in plastic and reconstructive surgery in the private sector. He is an honorary senior clinical lecturer at the Center for Blast Injury Studies at Imperial College, University of London, and visiting senior lecturer at the Conflict and Health Research Group at King's College, London University. He is clinical lead for the Operational Trauma Initiative at the World Health Organization's EMRO office and serves on the board of directors of INARA, a charity dedicated to providing reconstructive surgery to war-injured children in the Middle East, and board of trustees of the UK-based Medical Aid for Palestinians. He serves on the UK's National Institute of Health Research International Funding Committee. He has published extensively on the health consequences of prolonged conflict and on war injuries, including a medical textbook, Reconstructing the War-Injured Patient and Treating the War-Injured Child. He has worked as a war surgeon in Yemen, Iraq, Syria, South Lebanon, and during the four wars in the Gaza Strip. On the 9th of October 2023, he entered the Gaza Strip and worked in a Shifa hospital and then Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital for 43 days during the current genocide. Evidence he provided was part of the South African submission to the International Court of Justice and in the ICC arrest warrants. In April 2024, he was elected Lord Rector of the University of Glasgow and was awarded an honorary doctorate from the American University of Beirut, where he is currently Professor of Conflict Medicine. His work was featured by numerous newspapers and media outlets, notably Le Monde, The Independent, Telegraph, BBC, and CNN. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Ghassan. We are also joined in person by Mus'ab Abu Toha. Mus'ab is a Palestinian poet and writer from Gaza. His first collection of poetry, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award for Poetry and won a Palestine Book Award, an American Book Award, and the Walcott Poetry Prize. Abu Toha is also the founder of the Edward Said Library in Gaza, whose 2 branches Israel destroyed in 2024. He won the 2025 Pulitzer Prize for Commentary and a 2024 Overseas Press Club Award for his Letter from Gaza columns for The New Yorker. His new book, Forest of Noise, was named a New York Times notable book and was longlisted for the Dylan Thomas Prize. Also joining us in person is Hani Al-Madhoun. Hani is the co-founder of the Gaza Soup Kitchen, a grassroots effort that provides daily hot meals and direct assistance to families in Gaza, including his own. Despite serving as senior director of philanthropy at UNRWA USA, Hani felt compelled to take direct action as famine spread. Coordinating from Washington, D.C., he fundraises and advocates internationally while his family and community on the ground cook and distribute food under bombardment. His work blends personal loss with humanitarian action, turning grief into sustenance for thousands of Palestinians. Welcome, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. Our first question is going to be directed to Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta. Dr. Ghassan, you've spoken and written extensively on Israel's barbaric assault on hospitals and the health sector as one that's definitive of its assault on life in Gaza. Can you speak about the current state of medicine and healthcare in Gaza? What is Israel's political goal behind attacking hospitals, placing a siege, and creating starvation?
First of all, thank you very much for this invitation. I'm sorry I can't be with you. Ever since I served in Gaza during the marches of return and the move by the American administration of its embassy to Jerusalem, I, despite having a British passport, was banned from visiting the United States. So we'll have to do with this Zoom. So it was very clear from the very beginning of this genocide that Israel had really reinvented the idea of scorched earth policy to one which deals with a third world where the majority of the population doesn't live in rural areas and therefore need to be napalmed and Agent Oranged, but lives in an urban environment. And therefore, environment, the health structures, the health system needs not to just to be attacked, but to be dismantled. And by that, I mean, we started on the 12th of October with phone calls to every medical director of every hospital in Gaza, ordering them to evacuate these hospitals. Otherwise, they would bear the responsibility for the imminent attacks. And this was of October 2023. And on the 7th of October, of Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital, where an Israeli missile was fired into the forecourt of the hospital, killing 483 civilians. And then the systematic destruction that followed, you know, the 3 pediatric hospitals in the north, then the first siege of Shifa, and so on and so forth, until now we're left with 3 partially functioning hospitals out of 39. And this is despite the fact that every time the Israelis have destroyed a hospital, our Palestinian colleagues have reopened it. The Indonesian hospital, which is in Jabalia, was fixed 3 times by our colleagues and reopened. Al-Auda hospital in Jabalia camp kept working until only a month ago, until it was forced to close, despite being shelled, despite having snipers fire into it, despite losing 3 of its doctors in an Israeli missile attack, despite the arrest of its medical director, Dr. Ahmed Mahanna. So that component is the destruction of buildings. We then have the systematic murder of a whole generation of health workers. So now over 1,600 have been killed. The most recent is the head of pediatrics at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. But also from early October, we were working in Shifa, and every day one of our colleagues would be killed within half an hour of going home to their house. It was first Dr. Midhat Saydam, a plastic surgeon working with us at the burns unit, and then Dr. Hammam al-Loh. And now we have a horrendous number. We have whole specialties that have been completely wiped out. You then, having taken out the human element, you create the conditions for death. You weaponize water and sewage by also from the very beginning, from October 23, bombing the water desalination plants in Gaza and the sewage treatment plants in Gaza, and then systematically destroy the water and sewage infrastructure so that we have rare diseases on epidemic levels, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a virus. We have over 85 cases in Gaza. We have a rate of polio. To Gaza, also to increase the rate of genocidal killing. And then at the end, to weaponize people's bodies against themselves. The famine that Israel has manufactured means that the colleagues now report that patients are not surviving surgeries that they should be surviving. Because when they're injured, they're too malnourished to withstand the trauma or to heal the wound after the surgery. And the surgeons and the doctors and the nurses are too malnourished to be able to finish these shifts, to work, to help these people. And so what Israel has done is really created a machinery of genocide where everything is weaponized. from the water to the sewage, to the buildings, to every little thing, so that unlike what the published numbers are, 65,000 traumatic deaths that have registered, the real number is most likely closer to 400,000, more than 12 to 50% of Gaza's population, because Israel was able to weaponize life itself as part of its genocidal project.
As the IDF continuously targets writers, thinkers, and cultural institutions. What has this war done to education and cultural life, and what new forms have they taken since the start of the war?
Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor to be in this room with every one of you. It is another great honor to be in a room that is named after Anas al-Sharif. May Allah bless his soul. And I pray for the safety and well-being of our fighters, the Palestinian journalists who have been uncovering and exposing the Israeli genocide, when we know that many Western journalists are trying to discredit them by citing what Israel is saying about them. So let's pray for the Palestinian journalists, the fighters on the ground who have been exposing Israel and showing its true face, the face that we as Palestinians who have been living in Palestine have been seeing for over 77 years. Not only 70, but over 77 years. I don't think that we can separate Israel's attacks on hospitals in Gaza from Israel's attacks on universities, on schools, on pharmacies, on kindergartens, or even Israel's attacks on fishermen in the sea, and even Israel's attacks on the waves of the sea. Because Israel wants to annihilate everything that is Palestinian, even the stones that Palestinian children used to play with. So that's a very important point to raise. As to my remarks, it's been the Israeli occupation's tactic to murder, imprison, and intimidate Palestinian artists and writers. Ghassan Kanafani, who was living in exile after the occupation of Palestine in 1948, was assassinated in Beirut in July 1972 at the age of 36. My dear friend Rifat al-Ar'ir, who was born and lived in Gaza, occupied Palestine, was killed in December 2023 at the age of 44. Kanafani was killed alongside his niece, Lamis, while Al-Ar'ir was killed along with his two siblings and 4 nephews. And 4 months later, Rifat's eldest daughter, Shayma. And by the way, Shayma was the you in his poem, If I Must Die, because Rifat wrote that poem in 2011. So when he said, if I must die, you must live to tell my story, the you in that poem was Shayma, and Shayma was killed 4 months after Rifat. So we all should think that the you in this poem is every one of us who should live to tell the story of Rifat, of Shayma, of Abdul Rahman, of Anas, of every single Palestinian whose voice, whose life has been taken by Israel and whose photos are not shown on Western mainstream media. From the 5 months imprisonment of Palestinian poet Dareen Tattour for reading a poem of hers, to the death in prison of Palestinian novelist Walid Daqqa, who was the longest serving Palestinian prisoner in Israeli jails. Having spent 38 years in prison, Israel continues to embody the cancerous nature of occupation. In 2021, Walid Daqqa was diagnosed with cancer, prompting calls for his release upon completion of his original sentence in 2023, but he had received a further 2-year sentence in 2018 for smuggling a mobile phone to prisoner. On January 17, 2024, the Israeli military detonated 315 mines to destroy the Gaza Strip's last standing university, Al-Isra University in southern Gaza. According to the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, just 6 months into the Israeli genocide, more than 5,479 students, 261 teachers, and 95 university professors have been killed in Gaza, and over 7,819 students and 756 teachers have been injured. At least 60% of educational facilities, including 13 public libraries, have been damaged or destroyed, and at least 625,000 students had no access to education until today. Another 195 heritage sites, 7 mosques, and the 3 churches have been, now it's 4 churches have been damaged or destroyed, including the Central Archives of Gaza, containing 150 years of history. Despite the challenges, teachers and volunteers can be found opening tents, just like other volunteers are trying to feed people. There are other teachers and volunteers who have been trying to educate the young generation in Gaza, the future of Palestine, in tents in dangerous areas. For example, my wife's sister, Jawahir, has been trying to conduct fun and educational activities for the children in her school shelter in Beit Lahia, which they had to evacuate. She only paused these activities when there were airstrikes near the school, or when armed Israeli quadcopters issued warnings or made terrifying sounds. My cousin Hassan, who is a trainer and development specialist, established a large tent in Gaza City that attracted over 2,700 children and adults. My friend Nabil from Deir al-Balah in southern Gaza posted on his Facebook shortly after the failed ceasefire agreement was announced that he was seeking a language tutor for his 11-year-old child. Education in Palestine is a source of pride and strength for its people. The catastrophe of 1948 made 80% of the population in Palestine displaced, most of them until today. The Palestinian people have witnessed the loss of 85% of their land. This percentage has increased due to the Israeli ongoing occupation in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, despite the lack of institutional stability afforded to them through Israeli occupation and the continued destruction of schools and universities in Gaza. Palestinians maintain a national literacy rate of 97.7%. It is because education remains one of the most essential and powerful ways to resist occupation. It is how Palestinians hold on to their homeland, and it is how they invite others to visualize it based on our own experiences and also imagine it the way we hope to find it. The 2 branches of the Edward Said Public Library that I established in 2017 and 2019 were destroyed. It took each package of books many weeks to arrive in Gaza before I placed each book on the shelves. But just in a few seconds, everything was gone, and even including the library that I created in my own house, many of them signed by American authors. Now, my hope that I will rebuild the 2 libraries and more with the help of my friends all over the world, just like I did 8 years ago, remains. But unfortunately, one of the libraries of the Edward Said libraries in Gaza, one of the librarians at the Edward Said Public Library in Gaza was killed in December 2023 along with her whole family, Dua al-Masri. I know that Dua's hope is that we open the libraries to make the children less traumatized. We resist by continually hoping, working, and inviting others to join our fight for freedom. Freedom is collective, and hope is an action. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is to Hani. Hani, you have worked for decades in humanitarian aid in Gaza through organizations like UNRWA and through more grassroots initiatives like the Gaza Soup Kitchen. Since the siege and starvation campaign have intensified, we're seeing a concentrated attack on all aid efforts, which are now being replaced with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Can you speak, boo? Can you speak to the impact the GHF has had on aid distribution at large? What is the reality on the ground right now for those risking their lives to provide aid and for those who are in a critical state of needing this aid?
All right. Can you hear me okay? All right. Thanks, everyone. Being under the spotlight makes me nervous usually. When I am under the spotlight, I've been asked questions by people with badges. All right. I tried. Michigan is a tough crowd. In Chicago, people love this joke, FYI. I just want to give you a quick update. UNRWA remains in Gaza. They are operational, underground. Thank you. They are responding, though aid is not being allowed in there, but every day UNRWA doctors see about 15,000 patients. That's the size of Madison Square Garden of people who are not feeling well, and UNRWA is responding to that need. So please make sure people know that UNRWA remains at the ground. The best thing the Zionists would love for you is to think it's not responding and UNRWA is dead. It is struggling, but they remain in Gaza. The staff are in Gaza. We started the Gaza Soup Kitchen when this genocide began, and I'm here in my Gaza Soup Kitchen capacity and not UNRWA capacity because I want to get real with you, and you know, when these clips show up in these sites, I want that to be clear. We started because we were tired of a lot of these entities who were not or being stopped from delivering food to the north, and our own family was struggling. We did it because my neighbors were like, Hani, please, we need to eat. For the first 2 months, every single grain and every single pasta in Gaza was gone. And what we did was try to do from what's available. Then Chef Mahmoud, Allah yarhamu, he started cooking for the community, foraging. Khubeza, common mallow, porcelain, and it fed the community for 2 months. There was some, especially in an area in Beit Lahia called Al-Atatra, there was some potatoes. He bought 800 kilos one time. He bought zucchinis, carrots, anything he can find. These zucchinis were supposed to be small and, for kusa mahshi, but they were the size of a pumpkin because nobody dared to go pick him up from the plants. So we cooked for the community. You couldn't really do kusa mahshi from those gigantic ones. So we kept the community alive, and we kept doing this, and unfortunately, because we've done a lot of work, the moment the Israelis noticed our work when we were helping, and the good doctor will know, Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya at the Kamala Adwan Hospital, he was basically in speed dial calling my brother Chef Mahmoud, come deliver food for the community, and we would come up. When the Israelis did not have accelerant in one of the last invasion through Kamal Adwan, they collected, and it was November, they collected all the blankets and they used those to set up the fire in the second floor. So and everybody was without a blanket. Chef Mahmoud showed up the next day with blankets and rice and diapers and a lot of these things. And a few days later, they will kill Chef Mahmoud because of what he did for the community. They sent a drone, waited for him outside, and they killed him. Yeah. Thank you. They thought that we will stop working, but we did not. Every single family member of ours, every single crew, they said no, people will still starve after Chef Mahmoud, and they kept cooking for the community. This is not a slogan. I'm tired of slogans. I'm tired of empty speeches. We want it to make sure, thank you. We want to make sure our family have food and our neighbors are taken care of. And to the best of our ability, when the famine was in June and July, we, the family, and this is sad, our family was the only operation that remained without closing their door. Shame on the word Central Kitchen for closing in Gaza, leaving the community. And Chef Jose Andres, whatever his name is, yes, he says he's very political in Russia, Ukraine. He has no sympathy for the Russians. But when it comes to Israel, can we all get along? He never talks about our suffering. He thinks it's a misfortune. Oh yeah, he whitewashes this. And his former staff write me in the DM, tell me a lot of these horrors. So this is the precursor for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And remember, a lot of their staff were killed, and the best they could do is ask for an investigating, and they never pushed for one. They never cared for facts. They just did not want to upset Israel. And I'm responsible for those words. So now, is Anthony here? Anthony, the guy who set GHF on fire. I saw him last night. The former security contractors who really spoke truth. Are you here, Anthony? Can we give him a shout out? If you see him, make sure to thank him. He spoke the truth, and he made a big impact about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What I've learned from Anthony yesterday, that this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation hires people who are from motorcycle club called the Infidels Motorcycle Club. They think the Crusade War is still alive. They all have Crusade tattoos, and these are the kind of undereducated, overgrown juvenile they send to Gaza right now. These people pepper spray the Palestinians. They're ready to see Palestinians dead. Not all of them are like that, but the majority of them, many of them, in fact, the founder of the company that ships these contractors to Gaza cannot leave the state of North Carolina because he has some charges against him. That's the kind of morally shady characters that run this operation in Gaza. Do not believe anything about these guys. They're not being funded by any entity or government. There is an Israeli-American tech guy who's bankrolling this initiative. And also, the US government is defending them because they want to undermine UNRWA. And guess what? They are building a concentration camp inside middle area now in Gaza where they're going to have people live there and they're going to distribute food. That's why we need your advocacy. We talk too much, we care too much about this, but I don't see the time thing, but stop me when I finish. But I just want to let you know a couple of things. One, please be invested in the political process in this country. Do not resign from it. It's disgusting, I know, but we have to be in the room. Some of these politicians are on sale. Our community should have our members of Congress that we can call. Some of them you can, with a $50,000 contribution, they will go to a trip to Gaza. Some of these people, they spend the summer in Tel Aviv and they claim to represent America and they love the US, but the first call comes from Bibi Netanyahu, they answer. Yes. Two, please run for office. As much as you can, we need you to run for office and try. We're here, we're Congresswoman Rashida, she's amazing. We need 10 more, inshallah. And then also support initiatives like the IMEU, like this group, because we also need that power. We need the Institute for Middle East Understanding, the Rethink Media, because they tell our stories. So also invest in those institutions. Support the Gaza Soup Kitchen. And by the way, we are incorporated in Michigan. The Gaza Soup Kitchen was incorporated in Michigan. For the simple fact, I live in Virginia, and at the time, the government of Virginia was going after Palestine charities. And I said, we should go to Michigan because that's where our people are, and there's a lot of people who make sense here. So we're based here. Continue to speak out, share as much as you can about this, and please center the voices of Gaza. Maybe Mus'ab doesn't want you to know this now, but Mus'ab and I are fighting with Georgetown. What did Georgetown do?
Yeah, they reached out.
So Georgetown did a conference about Gaza. They had amazing speakers we love and respect. And guess what? 0 person from Gaza, 0 person with a family in Gaza. Yes. So please remember, we're all proud of the speakers, but remember we need people who are actually in the front line fighting this and paying the price. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Hani. On that note, on talking about, what we can do here in the US and across North America, we're all aware that Gaza is being starved by Israel as we speak, and as Hani spoke to, Israel and the United States have turned aid into a weapon of war and starvation as a primary strategy in executing their genocide. So this next question is posed to all three of our panelists. In the midst of this man-made famine then, what is the responsibility of people outside of Gaza?
Okay, I will start. Dr. Hassan is with us? Okay. I think the responsibility of people in this country is greater than any people anywhere else in the world, because this country, we know, is funding the genocide. It feels more painful for me personally that I am a Palestinian, I'm from Gaza, and there are many, many Palestinians here. But for us as Palestinians who are living here, whether we are Palestinian students, whether we are Palestinian Americans who were born here, it's very painful for us to know that some of the money, some of the taxes that we pay goes to kill people in Gaza. So we have to fight more, to make sure that the money, the taxes that we are paying should be going to helping people, not killing them. So we have to make an effort to make this clear to the Congress people in each state that we do not want at least our own money. Us Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, anyone who sees the humanity of the people in Palestine, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, there is occupation. There are settlers, 16, 17 years old with M16s, attacking people who have planted the land for decades. So we have to make sure that our voices are heard, that this money that we are paying, the taxes we are paying, should be going to help people, to help the people whose occupation we are enabling. So the responsibility lies on everyone. So I think, again, I'm saying this again and again, I think we should make this very clear to the government, to the Congress people, that we don't want our taxes to be going to Israel, especially that it is carrying out a live stream genocide. And I think also that another way of contributing to helping our people in Gaza and the West Bank is helping groups like Gaza Soup Kitchen, because they are doing things on the ground. They are not raising funds only, but you can see everything that they are doing. You can see Hani's parents, Hani's friends, Hani's community. It is a locally run initiative. It's not like we need American people to give us food. We don't want anyone to help us. We can help ourselves. But at least what we need is that this country and other countries do not send weapons to Israel. We don't want them to fund the bulldozers that are raising our farms. Because Israel destroyed a lot of the farms that we were using to eat and feed others. Early this month, Israel killed my father-in-law, my wife's father. He was a strawberry farmer, so he was someone who was supposed to be bringing strawberry to us, to his parents, to his relatives, to his sisters. But instead, he was going to one of the aid crossing in North Gaza, the Zikim one, because he wanted to bring food to his wife and children. But he was killed in an airstrike. So he was, so we don't, it is painful for me that he was killed, but the way he was killed, that he was going to get food. This man is not supposed to go and get food. He should be coming with food to other people. But Israel destroyed his farm, Israel destroyed his house, and Israel destroyed him. So we want to put an end to the genocide by demanding that our own tax money doesn't go to this genocidal country. And again, we are not a people who are needy, and you know that. We are not needy people. We are people who can eat from what our hands produce. We educate ourselves, we feed ourselves. We do not want to rely on aid. I don't like to call it aid because we are not people who rely on aid, but unfortunately, this country has, I mean, Israel and the United States and many European countries have made sure that we rely on aid. We don't want to rely on aid. We have hands, we have feet, we wake up in the very early morning to plant and to harvest and to water. We want to eat from what we do. We don't want to rely on money. What should be done is to stop sending weapons to Israel. I mean, Israel is making sure that we do not get the food that we need through UNRWA, through Gaza Soup Kitchen. But on the other hand, no one is stopping the weapons from going to Israel. There is no police at the border between Israel and Jordan or even in the air to check how many weapons Israel is getting every single day, to check what kind of weapons Israel is getting. But there are lots of policemen at the gates of Gaza, checking how many bars of chocolates are entering Gaza, how many liters of waters are getting into Gaza, what kinds of medicine is getting into Gaza. This is not fair. Thank you.
Do you want me to start now, or do you want to go ahead, or how do you want to do this?
Yes. Dr. Hassan, if you can speak now.
Sure. So I don't think there should be any doubt in anybody's mind that this is an American, British, German, French, Italian, Dutch genocide. And that Israel is not an ally of the United States and the West, but a continuation, an appendage of Western imperialism. And that what we have seen, the way that the system lit up when Israel decided to start its genocidal project, from every little community college to university, to main universities, to institutions, to financial institutions, factories, to educational and intellectual institutions. Israel is plugged in to every facet of every institution that represents Western power. What we've also seen and learned over the last 2 years is the effect of the systematic destruction of organized labor in the United States, in North America, in Europe, and particularly in the United Kingdom, and the destruction of meaningful opposition to the ruling classes in these countries. We also have seen and have understood that, and have always understood, that colonialism is an economic equation. And just like the very same French right and military who brought de Gaulle to power in the second time in the 50s, these very same people, in order to support the colonial project in Algeria, when de Gaulle found himself having to choose between the continuation of the French Republic and the continuation of the colonial project in Algeria, he threw the Pied Noir under the bus. Colonialism remains an economic and political project, and therefore our job, those of us who live in the global north, is through destabilization to ensure that the cost of that colonial project increases through mobilization, through reaching out and organizing along labor, along student movement, along ethnic minority groups, every aspect of every marginalized community, whether they are marginalized along class or along race. We need to mobilize them because the ruling classes of the West fear nothing like they fear instability and a politicized and politically aware population that is no longer sleepwalking from one imperialist war to the other. Our job is to mobilize in our communities and nationally wherever we are in order to destabilize these imperialist projects, in order to make colonialism not worth their while, as we managed to do in Vietnam, as we managed to do in Algeria.
Another thing is litigation. As a community here, we have the power to litigate these bad actors. And there is so many of them. There is no reason why GHF is not being sued right now by 50 other lawsuits. We should do a lot of that. That AI company that is doing the technology, they also should be sued. My brother Majid is the first of my siblings to be killed with his family. We have reasons to believe that it was an AI calculation that destroyed the house where he lives and the cat, Lucky, and his wife and the whole family. So this is one other thing we have to litigate. We have this thing, and I know Mahmoud Khalil is here, and you should take inspiration by how he fought. So that's the other aspect we can do in addition to running for office and all do that. And please, I hope you understand where I'm coming from for my next point is, do not let the Israelis and the Zionists in this country to have monopoly over the American flag in their rallies and protesting and all that. It should always be present in our rallies and activities because we do not do this work alone. We do not hate this country, we love this country, we hate the genocidal cult, whether it's the guys who were in the last administration who own this mess or their current administration. I really want you to think about this. When yesterday I came, there was some guy with an Israeli flag and an American flag. Rarely do we see it in our rallies. I hope you understand where I'm coming from because this is something that we have to connect with the rest of America on. The ones who are making the most sense right now are Tucker Carlson and the Congresswoman from Georgia, and we have to appeal to a broader coalition. Tomorrow in Gaza, where this is important, we are doing a food distribution. My family is doing a food distribution. Guess what? Inside Ittihad al-Kanais, the church that offered them the space, and what makes this food distribution, and this is about 500 food parcel unique, is it's paid for and supported by an amazing coalition of more than 1,000 rabbis. 1,000 rabbis have signed in a petition to bring more food into Gaza. They have a group called Jews for Food Aid to the people of Gaza, and they've been organizing, not only just donating, but also going to these offices and speeches, and some of them are being detained. Remember, we're not alone in this fight. There's allies that you don't even know exist. UNRWA USA sees this support from people from across, so we're not alone, remember? Continue to do this, and also speak well, and it's not only that we run the soup kitchen. Mus'ab and I are always in the media talking about our families, we're talking about our struggle. It is all of the above approach. You know, you've seen this, you've struggled, you've taken over campuses, and now they're fighting back against you. Some of you's diploma's been the VCU student, Sabrina, is she here? I saw her yesterday. She also stood her ground, and ultimately they came around because the tide is shifting, and I only wish the cost wasn't this high. We already have more than enough victims in Gaza. Continue to talk about them, continue to engage, honor their memories, and support in all the ways you can. There's so many fronts to this battle, and we are in all those as much as we can, and we're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to continue on this thread that Dr. Ghassan had opened about colonialism being an economic equation and political project. And so for this next question that's directed to the three panelists, on the theme of everything being weaponized by Israel, on weaponizing life itself as part of this genocide, can we speak to the political goals behind the destruction of what you mentioned, Mus'ab, the destruction of cultural archives, the attacks on memory and future generations of Palestinians, the political goals behind undermining UNRWA, and the political goals behind, destruction of hospitals, starvation as a weapon of war? So.
Okay, thank you for the question. We all know this saying by one of the first Israeli officials that the old people will die and the young people, Palestinians, will forget. So their fight with us is about not only killing us, annihilating us, but also erasing the memory that we had of Palestine. For me, as someone who was born in a refugee camp, it remains a very devastating reality that not only did Israel turn 80% of the population of Palestine in 1948 into refugees, but now what Israel is after is the refugee camps. Out of the 8 refugee camps in Gaza, Israel erased 3 of them: Jabalia, Rafah, and Khan Yunis. They erased the 3 refugee camps. So this erasure of the refugee camps is also another component of their attempt to erase the refugee question. This is one of the questions that they will never get rid of, because as long as we are alive, we will continue to demand our rights, our right to return. My grandfather Hassan was born in Yafa, and also my grandmother Khadra was born in Yafa. They became refugees. They moved to live in a Shati refugee camp. My father was born there. I was born there. So the refugee camp should have been a temporary place for the Palestinian people. But unfortunately, over years, it has become home for them. Now, as many people left the Jabalia refugee camp and the Rafah refugee camp and the Khan Yunis refugee camp, many of the people who are now concentrated on the beach of Khan Yunis or Deir al-Balah, now their hope is to return to the refugee camp. They miss the refugee camp. So this is something that it is a devastating reality, but Israel is doing it, and the world is watching it, and the world is doing nothing. It's not that the world is doing nothing. The world is doing a lot of things, which is funding the genocide of the Palestinian people. But they are doing nothing to save the Palestinian people. 70% of the population in Gaza are refugees. So every time we see names, every time we see numbers of people who are killed by Israel, you should always keep in mind that 70% of those people were refugees. So these people were supposed to return to their homes in Yafa, in Haifa, in Akka, in Jerusalem, in Majdal, in the villages around Gaza, Hamama, Jora, etc. So these people, it's not like Israel is committing a genocide against a people they are occupying. This is a crime in itself. But I mean, the other crime that Israel is committing is killing refugees. So you are not killing someone who you are occupying, but you are killing someone you have turned into a refugee for 77 years. So that's another level of a genocide that I rarely hear anyone talk about in the media or anywhere. But we will resist that, and we have been resisting this. I remember when I was a very small child, at the age, let's say, of 9 or 10, whenever I introduced myself to new friends, let's say we meet in a mosque, we meet in a playground, we meet in a football club, soccer club, I would introduce myself mentioning my name, so my name and our original home city, Yafa. So I would say my name is Ismi Mus'ab min Yafa. I wouldn't say I'm Mus'ab from Shati refugee camp. So mentioning the name of the original city of our grandparents is an integral part of who we are. And we are going to continue saying this. This is why Israel wants to shut the UN, the UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Work Agency. It's not that UNRWA has any political leanings, it has any agendas. No, no, no. Just to forget about all these accusations. Israel wants to get rid of UNRWA because it is a reminder of the refugee problem. As long as there is UNRWA, it means there are refugees. And as long as there are refugees, UNRWA should remain. And we should continue to support UNRWA and its work, because it's not only about providing aid to the Palestinian people. I was a refugee, as I said, now I'm in exile. My family relied on aid from UNRWA, not only food, but also the clinics in Gaza. Because every time we think about UNRWA, we think about food, you know, rice and oil and sugar, blah, blah, blah. But also UNRWA has been providing Palestinian people, the refugees, with medical support. When I felt sick, I go to an UNRWA clinic in Jabalia. Now it's destroyed. And I attended UNRWA schools also as a child, and then I became a teacher. I taught students at UNRWA schools in Beit Hanun and in Beit Lahi and Jabalia. So they will fail because we know that no matter how long a thief keeps your property, it will remain your property, which is Jaffa, Palestine, and they will remain thieves. Now they are not only thieves, but they are child killers. They are sexual abusers. And these crimes are documented. And unfortunately, it pains me that we are not only telling these stories just as they happen, but the Palestinian journalists, one of them, Anas Sharif, God bless his soul, they were live streaming this. They were not only telling, hi, Mus'ab, please tell your friends that there is a massacre in Jabalia, Israel is advancing, the Israel bombed the hospital. No, it's not that they are telling us those things. But we are seeing this. I mean, I don't know what else the Palestinian people in Gaza and also in the West Bank, because we also have videos of settlers attacking Palestinians, stealing their camels, burning their tents and pouring cement in their water wells. I mean, everything is documented. I mean, what else should the Palestinian people do to show the world that these people are thugs, these people are criminals? They should be held accountable. What more proofs? What more proofs do we have to show? So we have to support UNRWA because it keeps the record of the Palestinian people. It keeps the record of the Palestinian people. So that was.
Dr. Ghassan, did you want to speak?
And I kind of got cut off when you were speaking, so I didn't know what the question was.
The question is on the broader political project of colonialism as an economic equation and political equation, to speak to the theme of weaponizing everything, including life, as a part of this genocide. And so the question was touching on the destruction of cultural archives, the destruction of memory and future generation, the political goal of undermining UNRWA, and the political goal of starvation as a campaign to carry out this genocide.
So to carry on from where the previous speakers left off, what we're witnessing in the last couple of weeks, with almost the annihilation of all of the journalists in northern Gaza and the systematic targeting of journalists, and the increase in the number of doctors that are being denied entry into Gaza. Initially it was 50%, and now it's closer to 75%. And then the American administration's decision to prevent charities from bringing Palestinian children for treatment in the United States, and even a collaborationist government like the Vichy government, the Ramallah, being denied visas to enter the United States and speak at the General Assembly. This is all an attempt at ghosting Palestinians again. There is a decision, a concerted decision, that our faces and our names and our voices and our stories should not be told anymore. That one of the problems that the genocidal project is running into is that over 100 years of dehumanizing Palestinians, of making them invisible and voiceless, it is failing. And what is being identified as the causes of this failure are health workers who travel and come back and talk about the atrocities and the monstrosities that are being committed, are the journalists who are bravely showing the world the crimes that are being committed, are the children whose wounds, when they come to communities in the United States, tell their stories about their lives and their damaged bodies and their lives. And so there's a decision to make us invisible again. And that's what the American administration wants to do. With it, not just the American administration, the European governments fall into line. And most importantly, what we've seen in this genocide is what you can call the genocide enablement apparatus. You know, and this is everything from the BBC to the New York Times to Wall Street Journal to CNN to Fox to every news outlet. It's again to make you invisible as a people again, because it's been identified that your humanity gets in the way of a good genocide. That those people who are filling the streets in the thousands and the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands, in the UK, in Australia, in Europe, are there because they've seen in you their families, they've seen in your children their children. And therefore, Palestinians have to be made invisible again. And that's what we're seeing. And we will see more of this because it seems that's the next phase of the attempt at limiting the damage the genocide is causing within the genocidal countries like the United States and Britain and Germany and France and Holland and Italy.
I think what we are witnessing in all those outlets and the stories is that how the Palestinians are the only people on earth who are asked to prove our pain and our suffering. They're like, hey, we have a famine. No, show us receipts, you have a famine. We have the death of this. Oh, no, this is not true. Or this kid is starving. Oh, pre-existing. It is the lies, the misinformations, the cover-ups. I thought when they killed the ambulance workers, the heroic staff, this is the end of it. Oh, no. It come up always like, we screwed up. That's it. That's just a little screw up. Oopsie, you know, I was cutting myself shaving and that's it. And they do not, like, people are aware. I assure you, I go to these newsrooms, I hear these conversations. Sometimes the reporters in private are more telling. They lead more. And that's also telling because it's the corporations that we are being abused by. These the owners of those entities, whereas the journalists oftentimes, so many of them are, you know, there is the only reason why, for example, CNN called so many Palestinians, because there's a producer, a young person who is Pakistani, who is Arab, who is Masri, who is pushing them to bring a Palestinian voice. Even with that, they have to be lobbied to get somebody to get our voice there. And that's why we can't all be lawyers and doctors, Ammos here. We have to also be writers and storytellers and artists and musicians. And poets. So that's one. They always want to see our suffering, and you know they're pushing back against UNRWA, not because UNRWA was bad. Remember the first administration of President Trump defunded UNRWA. There was no such allegations. This is mainly about the right of return, and it's also about domination and control. Because a dangerous Palestinian is an educated Palestinian. They hate that. There's 500,000 children in Gaza who go to UNRWA schools. Right now, they're just chasing after the water truck because Israel cut the pipe for them. So that's sort of like the struggle we see. What is the situation of aid right now in Gaza? Israel does not allow much aid into Gaza. What has been allowed is commercial trucks. So this is stuff for sale. They've allowed a lot of this. And you remember, this is about, it meets about 14% of what the Gaza Strip needs, no more than 14%. Agencies like UNRWA has the equivalent of 6,000 aid trucks outside the warehouses. We're waiting, and they're not allowing this. Sometimes they allow 10 or 20, but here's the funny thing, and I know some of you know this. If an aid truck for sale, the Israelis, because they're making money and profit from the commercial truck, they allow armed private security from Gaza to come to pick up the aid. But if it's a humanitarian aid that is gonna go to the people for free, they wanna make sure it gets looted. And guess what? 3 weeks ago, our cousin Taha al-Madhoun was killed because he was volunteering to protect an aid site, an educated young man who wanted to protect the aid and make sure it gets to these aid agencies. They've killed him and a few other guys who are just good Samaritans. They're trying to prevent the aid from stalling. So this is what we call engineered suffering. So because the aid goes in, people will feel like they got some help. So what is happening is entities like the Gaza Soup Kitchen and other actors, I'm sure the room is filled with amazing people who do great work for Gaza. We end up having to buy the food and give it away for the community for free. So that's why we have to be nimble. You know, a lot of those great organizations are sadly forced to sit on millions of dollars earmarked for Gaza, and everybody is waiting in the parking lot for the right moment Israel allows aid. What they do is, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is, they're not bringing aid. What Anthony and I talked about, they just grab aid that somebody else brought, they put their logo on it, and they say, we brought this aid. They have truck drivers from Romania and Australia and these beefcakes coming from North Carolina to give us food. Guess what? 1,500 Palestinians. That was 2 weeks ago. At least 1,500 Palestinians were killed at those aid sites. Personally, our recent death in the family, Samih Muhammad Helbi al-Madhoun, a young man just turned 18 years old, was killed at those sites, and he was delivered to our family unclothed, which is very unusual because Palestinians, if you know about the religious tradition, when somebody is killed in a situation like Gaza, as some will call shaheed, he will be buried or she will be buried in the clothes they were killed in. And this guy was delivered naked, and the assumption that the Israelis stripped him before they executed them. And this is the stories, the stories we deal with. And guess what? They couldn't even get the body from Khan Yunis because the disruption of the road. A man went and grabbed the body and buried it, and they paid. The man had to his name about $1,000. That's what it cost to buy the plot and bury this person. And too many unknown bodies, too many skeletons. There is boxes of bones with sneakers, and they put the sneaker outside with the hope that somebody would recognize this. A Palestinian man who was killed by Israel was recognized through the keychain he had in their keys. This is the trauma we're dealing with, and I hope our allies in the room, they understand this and understand that we need action. The Palestinians don't need statements, they don't eat statements, they need food. We need access, not excuses. And Israel knows this, and they're amazing at lies. Instead of allowing foreign journalists in, and instead of not killing Palestinian journalists, what did they do last week? For those who pay attention, they flew in bargain bin TikTokers and had them show like, hey, come pick up the aid, it's here. Guess what? They're not allowing anybody to go access this aid. It's for a production. And our American ambassador, Witikoff, when he went there, a Palestinian person asked if they could join the trip. They said, no, we're just going family. It's the cousins just going to check up this killing field that's known in the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. They sent a reporter in to see this, and the person puked because they were seeing so much violence and stench of death and dead Palestinians around that. This is the reality that we're seeing it, and we can talk about it here, but I know it's overwhelming. I know our mental health is not the same. I know my relationship with my daughters and my wife has changed because we live and breathe this. and it pales compared to the suffering in Gaza. So if you are able to help anyone in Gaza to stay in the land as long as they can, please do that. I do not fault anybody who wants to leave, but nobody's leaving because they have a choice, because they've taken all forms of life, including universities and hospitals, and I pray soon enough we will have Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya freed. He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Hani. I just have two things to follow up with. Regarding the stories and the memories. So every day we see the names of people who are killed by Israel. I think to myself that these people who were killed today, they survived over 670 days of the genocide. And these people were the carriers of stories that no one was told. So these people were eyewitnesses. So Israel is not only killing these people, but they are also eradicating eyewitnesses who should have been, sharing their witness account with international human rights advocates, going to the ICC and ICJ. So Israel is not only killing these people, but it's also eradicating and getting rid of eyewitnesses who should be very important when it comes to holding Israel accountable for its war crimes. The other point that I wanted to share with you is that on October 7th, we hear a lot the Western media, mainstream media, saying that Hamas killed Holocaust survivors and they abducted Holocaust survivors. But how many of you heard any journalist saying that Israel, until today, they killed over 1,000 Nakba survivors? Have you ever heard of that? No. I looked at the names of the people. So this is from October 7th until mid-June. And there are over 1,000 Nakba survivors, people who were born before the Nakba in 1948. So these are Nakba survivors, and Israel killed them, 1,000 people. No one is talking about them. So this is part of the dehumanization. This is part of the story that we should be telling the world. If I must die, you must live to tell my story. And this is part of the story that we should be telling the world. That not only did Israel turn these people into refugees, not only my grandfather was made a refugee in 1948, but he died in the refugee camp. And he was buried in a cemetery close to the refugee camp. And the cemetery where he was buried was destroyed by Israel. So we should talk about these things. It's not only about the killing of the people as people, but also the stories behind these people. These are Nakba survivors, 1,000 people who should have been cared about, who should be brought back to their houses, even if those houses do not exist anymore, but they should go back to the land where the houses existed. And we should work on that.
Thank you for your remarks. As we get ready to close this panel soon, I wanted to give the opportunity to our three panelists for closing remarks on this theme of Gaza remaining, on this theme of remaining on our land, on remaining with our struggle. And so I wanted to open it up for the three panelists for their closing remarks. Dr. Ghassan, we can start with you.
So I think what is critical at the moment is for us to understand and to make the world understand that Gaza is today what will happen to the rest of humanity, the rest of this century. That the genocidal erasure of surplus populations, whether they're politically surplus populations like the Palestinians, socially surplus populations like refugees who are drowned intentionally in the Mediterranean or are killed intentionally as they cross borders, or economically surplus populations who are chemically killed and through the denial of health. We will see these tactics, these philosophies enacted not just in other countries in the global south, but in the inner cities and the slums of the north. Quadcopters will be seen in the United States. These robot drones will be seen in the United States as part of the management of surplus populations. That's the first point. The second point is genocide. At the heart of it is the erasure of the possibility of a tomorrow. And therefore, part of our resistance to this erasure is to keep planning for a Palestinian tomorrow, and to keep fighting for a Palestinian tomorrow, and to keep supporting our Palestinian friends and family and colleagues and comrades as they plan for a day after the genocide, while supporting them in their daily struggles to survive. It is critical that we not give up hope. Our people has survived 100 years of colonial erasure, and we will survive another 100 years. Three, the institutions of power in the West, whether they are the universities or the media, are enemy institutions. And the only way we can free our lives of their malevolent influence is by taking them over. We need to retake the universities. We need to neutralize and silence, or at least limit, the insidious effect of these corporate media. We need to be able to neutralize and eventually dismantle the genocide enablement apparatus that exists. Thank you.
Okay. Closing remarks maybe would be a beginning, an invitation to start doing something. We all know that there are half of the population in Gaza are children. I mentioned in my keynote that about 700,000 children are missing schools for 2 years. Now it is the beginning of the third year. So I'm inviting every one of you to reach out to people in Gaza or people who are working on this thing, which is offering classes to students in Gaza, even supporting teachers, because, you know, most of the people in Gaza rely, before October 7, before the genocide, they relied on daily work, so many of them do not have any source of income. So I invite you to support any initiative that is supporting the education of children. Yesterday I talked to my aunt who lost her 7-year-old child in an airstrike, which she survived herself with her husband and their 5 children. In that airstrike, I lost my great aunt, my grandmother's sister, and 15 of her relatives, one of whom was my first cousin. So I asked her, are you teaching them anything? Do they know the letters, the sounds, the math? And she said, no, I'm just helping them memorize some verses from the Holy Quran. So that's the only available thing and the easiest thing to do in order for a mother to make sure that her children can read Arabic. So, but I think we need to work on projects that would support the education of children, and maybe Hani can talk about that if that's part of the work they are doing. I know that UNRWA, many times, because I taught English at UNRWA schools, and while I was in Egypt, and also part of the time here, we were working on WhatsApp groups with students to take some lessons in English. And also they were teaching the 4 main subjects: English, Arabic, science, and math. So I was doing this on WhatsApp, but the problem was with the electronic devices. Not everyone in Gaza has currently electronic devices like a laptop, a phone, or an iPad. The other problem is with the electricity. It's not easy to charge the phone or the laptop or the iPad. The third larger problem is the internet. There is no internet in Gaza. You can rarely find that service. That's why the journalists were on the fourth floor, the stairs of the fourth floor of the Nasser hospital. They were trying to catch the signal of the internet in order to post and upload their content. So that's something that UNRWA was trying to do even a year and a half after the genocide started, but it's very, very challenging. So my invitation to you is to find and maybe start educational tents in Gaza, support the teachers there, fund some of the equipment that they need, like chalk, like notebooks, like pencils. So this is one thing that you can work on. The other thing, we know that between October 7th and the time Israel destroyed the Rafah border crossing in May 2024, so that's about 8 months, about 100,000 Palestinians managed to leave Gaza through Egypt. And there are many Palestinian students who are currently in Egypt, studying at universities maybe, or doing some taking private lessons. So these people need support. So that's another way of supporting the Palestinians who managed to leave Gaza and now are in Egypt, maybe in Jordan, but the majority are in Egypt. So these people 100% need support. Maybe you can find them a scholarship. Maybe you can, contribute to the fees. Maybe you can start a school in Egypt, a private one, because as far as I know, when I was in Egypt during the first 6 months, we couldn't register our kids at Egyptian schools. We were not allowed to do that. And I think that's the case until today. So these students, my children, if they were still in Egypt, they couldn't go to an Egyptian public school. We had to find them an Irish school, a private one. And we had to pay a lot of money for that. So maybe that's another thing that you can work on, which is to maybe start a private school, or maybe fund these students, enable them to go to private schools in order to continue their education. And this is our weapon, education. We need to have these children, whether in Gaza or outside of Gaza. We need them to be well educated so that when we go back to Gaza, to the West Bank, to Jaffa, to Haifa, we will be ready to rebuild what Israel has been destroying.
Great. Couple of things I'm thinking about is, I know a lot of people are on their phones, so if you could get your phone, Instagram, Gaza Soup Kitchen, follow us, tag us, I'll share it, so this way you could get our message further, make our voices a little bit louder. If you could do that today, tag the conference, tag the organizers. By the way, please give them a big round of applause for organizing such an event. Two, spend your dollars where your values are. This is a good way for us to think about those companies that are hurting the Palestinians, hurting the environment, hurting the African American community, hurting disadvantaged communities, or they have issues with trans or gay or queers. We're allied around this. Gaza brings us together. And we also have other investments. We're not just one issue people. Gaza, it's the most important issue, but we also have lives. Last week, a friend and I spent the time packing backpacks in DC, in the heart of the most disadvantaged community, to help our communities and give back, because we cannot forget about our role here in this country. And make decisions, when you see at the grocery store that crappy subpar hummus brand, make sure your friends from yoga know that this is a bad actor. And this is one example, the overpriced coffee at that company with the slick CEO. Remind them that you care about this. Really, it starts at your smallest network. The people your book club, they need to know about these things, because this is an average American. It has to be mainstream, because no American wants to see kids starve. And I don't care what Israel says is complicated. It's not complicated. It is not. It is not. And we did it. If you go and see the story we did at the Gaza Soup Kitchen, we did help 1,200 families in about 6 hours. We got 8 to 1,200 families in 6 hours. We had, thank you. We had trolling signs where we said no GHF, no guns. We had also the American flag there, and nobody was hurt. If you look at the statistics of GHF, if they've helped, if distributed 50,000 meals like we did, about 1.5 Palestinians will be killed. So remember, spend your dollars where your values, and jazakum Allah khair wa shukran ilkum kulkum.
Let's give a round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you for your powerful words. Thank you for grounding us in what genocide looks like, the destruction of all sectors of society. We're here. Gaza makes us proud. Gaza makes us proud. And Gaza also gives us a tremendous responsibility. One of the reasons that we are here today is to push forward that responsibility, to figure out how we can participate in alleviating suffering, in getting towards restructuring and rebuilding areas that have been destroyed. What is our ability to do that? That is one of our key themes. Right now, we have fundraising at the door. That's a first step towards carrying forward with the Compass of Gaza. You can find people with boxes at the door. We're going to take a short 30-minute break. We'll be back here at 12 exactly for our keynote panel. When you see your friends, we all have a responsibility to fill in. We'll bring them together. See you all at 12 o'clock.